welcome back to Liquid Lunch.
Yes, welcome back.
We're here. We've got Daniel Bax joining us here at the table. And Daniel, we were talking, well, you're a speaker and author, but also you do some video stuff. And we were just getting into that, you know, what you're doing with all this video stuff. It's, you know, let's just jump into it.
With the video stuff, I haven't done a whole lot yet, but I want to record all my speeches. Like I have people to help record my talks and different events I speak at. And then basically from that, I'm getting into like a video coaching program where I give a certain coaching session out every week, and it doesn't matter where you jump in, it always applies to your life. So I plan on just recording it and doing like little podcasts.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
So, given that you have this passion to do this, I'd like to ask you about your story and how you came to be here today, and your life and where it's going from here, and some of the things you're excited about. And
bring it on.
You got it, sir. So we met, I guess, less than a year ago at another music event.
Yes, I think it was in the spring.
Yes, and I was particularly engaged. You know, just your smile, and you sort of lit up the room, and we had a wonderful conversation about, you know, how do people do good in the world and live good lives and find meaning.
Yes.
Yeah, and
I just find one of the biggest things that I did that I find as people adopt it is just quit dwelling on the past. So many people dwell on the past, whether it be something that happened to them last week, yesterday, or 10 years ago. They dwell on it, and what's wild is the longer they dwell on it, the heavier it gets, and the more weight it puts on them. Then the story's not even the same when they go to explain it 10 years down the road. It's not the same as what it was 10 years ago, because they just keep building on it, and it builds more trauma and more chaos and more havoc in their life. Just I say just be grateful that it happened, and appreciate that it did happen. Just be grateful for it all, and you'll find ways to learn from it mentally, physically, and spiritually, which ultimately will make you stronger in so many different dimensions.
Yes. You seem to have incredible strength. You know, I notice you seem to run and muscular. So, like, how did you get to do all that?
Well, the running part was because I got to run away from my girl before she beats me sometimes.
Now, why would she want to beat you?
Because this mouth runs more faster than I do sometimes.
Yeah.
The filters, I seem to ruin the filters when the accident. I just ruin the filters.
All right. Well, hopefully, maybe something like that will happen on the show here today. But no, how did you come to be a speaker and an author?
The speaker part, it was even before I could speak, because some of my injuries, when I was placed in the hospital, they said I'd never be able to speak again because I only have one vocal cord right now, and that I'd be muted forever. So they gave me some kind of vocal amplifier, and I sounded like R2-D2. That kind of sucked. I didn't like that for the first moment. So then I just connected with energy and spirit, and I just started focusing more energy onto my vocal cord, and I was able to get it to spring into place.
Okay, so that's a fascinating thing right there, and let's get into that a little bit more. But first of all, so you had do you want to tell the story about your accident, what you were doing before that, and then what happened, and then how it obviously changed your life?
Certainly, I'll throw it into a real tight synopsis here. Before I was a carpenter, house developer and builder and renovator, and I also had a window washing company. So I was kept busy with that anywhere between 10 to 14 hours a day, just playing around, because I loved it. It was my passion. I enjoyed building and developing and designing.
Were those Daniel Bax Enterprises, or did they have other names?
Yeah, they had other names. Actually, the carpentry company was Wilderness Carpentry, because I love doing things more natural and just as earthy as it could be. And then the window washing company was more than window cleaning, because I did more than window cleaning. I figured, that's a good name. Why would I keep that?
Yeah, beautiful.
Came out to that one night, and it's probably some kind of stupor, and I figured I like that. Yeah, so going on with that, I figured one day I wanted to get another motorcycle. It's been a while since I had a motorcycle, so I figured I'd go buy another motorcycle. I knew what I was going to take. It was a black, shiny rocket. Oh, it just screamed, release me. And as I approached it, you could hear it whisper, I dare you. Oh. So as soon as I got on the bike, my inner thoughts kicked in. They said, I hope nobody hits me. I definitely don't want to scratch the rocket. So to avoid heavy traffic, I took off towards the back roads. Now in the back roads, loving the fresh air, loving the freedom, and just tearing it up, came upon a row of cars slowing down up ahead of me. That's when ego kicked in and said, just blow on by. So as I sped up faster and faster at 130, 140 kilometers an hour, I was firing on by, and bam! The front van pulled out, and I fired right through the back window. Momentum ripped me out and threw me up over the street light 30 feet in the air, and equally as far down the road where I came down and landed face first, obliterating my helmet, my body, and yeah, I scratched the bike. I had to pay for that. So, very fortunately, the EMS was in the area, came and scraped me off the ground, placed me in the back of the ambulance, where they took off towards local hospital, where I technically died en route to the hospital. From there, airlifted to a trauma unit hospital, rushed straight into 10 surgeries in just 14 hours, dying additional 4 times. And
do you remember any of that?
It's interesting, but I clearly remember a lot of it. I remember the vehicles, I remember what they looked like. When I got out and they got me to read the accident report, they actually was speaking to him about what happened, what the incident was like, and what the cars looked like, the color of them, and the people that were in them, and how many there were. He goes, "Oh, you must have read the accident report." I said, "I haven't seen it yet. What is the accident report?" So he told me, and he gave it to me, and it was almost verbatim. And what's wild is I was completely colorblind prior. And how are you supposed to remember anything? But see, your subconscious is like a photo machine. It just takes pictures of what's there, and you get more of a present, real-time image.
I'm just curious, are you still colorblind, or?
I can see some colors, but for the most part, it's black and whites. I tell colors by shades.
Okay, all right. So that's a horrific story. So,
what happened?
yeah,
then?
what happened?
Well, when I came out of that, now just imagine, place yourself in these shoes. A head nurse comes to you and says, your fellow loved one would never walk again because they're paralyzed. Never talk again, eats all the foods, ever move their left side, likely won't remember anything before the accident, including you. Because he's going to be a vegetable. You might as well just plug him in. We're going to have him plugged in. You got to put him in a bed, and he's going to be a vegetable for the rest of his life.
So the nurse told that to who?
They came in and told that to my family. So imagine they said that to you.
Yeah, and you were in there. Do you remember that moment, or were you?
I was in a wheelchair. I couldn't speak at the time.
Yeah.
Could barely feel it in my body except for parts of my right side. And I got it. And what I remember saying to him, I said to my mom, I asked my mom after, I said, "Mom, did I say this?" But I'm going to tell you in a moment. And she goes, "Daniel, you didn't say a thing. You couldn't even mumble a moan at that time. There was no voice coming out of you." I said, "Well, I said it so loud I heard it echo in the room." She goes, "You didn't say a thing." What it was, it probably echoed upstairs because when I landed face first in the accident, I compressed my brain. Now there's lots of room up there. So when I was speaking, I just heard echoes. Well, basically, I looked at the surgeon or the head nurse, and I said, "Thank you for all that you've done, but I will do everything you said you can't. Those are your opinions, and I will not allow your opinions become my reality. The good Lord created me. He'll fix me. Thank you."
You said that to her, or in your mind?
In my mind, that's what I said. I said to my mom, I said it so loud. Mom goes, "No, you didn't say it at all," because I couldn't speak at the time. So I said it so loud upstairs that I heard it.
You thought you...
I clearly thought that I spoke at that time, that I told him that. And then while it was going with energy and going with spirit, I looked over at my mom, just the half inch I could turn, and I nodded at her, saying, "Okay, let's go." She came and grabbed my wheelchair and wheeled me out of the room right then. And as I looked at him and I went like this, I just nodded like to say, "Thank you, we'll see you later." He looked and nodded back and said, "I'm sorry, there's nothing more we can do."
This was how long after your accident?
They rolled me in there. I was in a coma for 10 days, so that would have been within probably the first 2 months.
My goodness. How long ago was this accident?
August 30th, 2005. It was at about 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
What a journey.
It's been a journey, yes.
So then what? Okay, so you were in the wheelchair at this point. Did you have to stay in a hospital much longer, or what was the tell us the story of how you came to where you are now from that.
I was in that hospital, I think, ICU. I was in there for several weeks, if not a few months.
Which was the first hospital that took you in?
Hamilton General. They flew me into Hamilton General, and then I was in ICU for a few weeks. Then I think in that hospital for another 9 months, which was the longest place I've ever been in anywhere. Then the next hospital was actually down here on University Avenue, Toronto Rehabilitation Institution.
Yeah.
I was in there for 7 months, and I was in a wheelchair. It was basically enough to see where you're going to go next. So that was the place that they work with you to get you a little bit further. Then from there, I spent time in 2, if not 3 different rehabilitation facilities, live-in facilities. But each time I went there, I got out faster because I advanced beyond their ability to work with me. They'd move me to the next facility. When they rolled me out and they rolled me into, I was just learning how to speak. At the first hospital, I just started moving my leg when they said my foot was never going to move. So my mom was in there dressing my wounds on my leg, and I was pointing down at my foot with the only arm that moved, my right arm, and I was like this, and my full expression, the right eyebrow, because the left side was completely paralyzed from eyebrow to toe. She looks down at my foot and goes, "What, honey, what?" So I'm pointing at my foot, couldn't say a word, pointing at my foot. She goes, "Just a moment, honey, let me just take care of this." She finished dressing my wound, looks at me again, and goes, "Well, honey, here's what I have to ask you guys. Whenever you go to attempt something, how many times do you attempt it before you give up? On average, do you find if you don't accomplish it the first time, do you go back and attempt it again?
Yes.
Yeah.
Would you continue doing that until you made it happen, or would most times you back out and say, "I'll do it later"?
After a dozen or 2 dozen or a couple of dozen times, it's sort of like, okay, I'm done.
You've had enough.
Yeah.
Most people give up after the first few tries, and they say it's just not worth it, or it's not me, the stars aren't aligned, or whatever their reasons are. And so, as Mama was just talking to me and doing what she's doing, I knew that I had done something with that foot before. I just knew it. So I looked back down at it, and I focused more attention, more energy, and more determination than I think I've ever had in my entire life back at that foot, and just say, "This is my foot, this is my toe." Mom looks down there, and I point it back down again. I looks at it, I go this. "Daniel, do it again, do it again, do it again." Nothing. Again, tried again and again and again. She looked back at me, "Come on, you got to do it again. You got to see, do it again." Tried again and again, and I don't know how many more times, but then I went like this. And then from that, it went into my toes, into my ankles, over time, into my leg, into just moving my body. And it was still numb. I couldn't feel it, but I knew that I'd be able to move it. So I just began focusing on what was next after
Each success.
After each success.
So it was really just like, it almost sounds like it's sheer determination and just a complete unwillingness to give up.
That's one of the, you're very right there, and that's one of the big things is determination, will, but I find the foundational material of it all was faith. Not so much faith in the Creator or God, Allah, Zen, Krishna, whatever, but faith in yourself.
Yeah.
Because if you have faith in yourself as to what you can do and knowing that you will do it, doesn't matter how long it is or how hard it is, you will accomplish it.
Yeah.
Now, where do you think that faith that you had comes from? Because there might be people out there that are dealing with similar situations, or might one day, right, and they might not have the faith that you had to do it. So first of all, where did you get your faith from, and what would you tell somebody else who's dealing with a situation like that?
Where I got it from? That's an interesting and tricky question. It's at that moment, I think a lot of it was just because my brain was so kiboshed that I was at basically a juvenile level. I was reborn. I had to learn how to scratch and itch and move and everything, from blinking an eye to everything. I was reborn. And it's like a child, if you tell them they can't walk, they're going to keep going and going and going and going and going because they just have that faith. It's like a childlike mentality saying, if you put something on a counter and you say you can't have that and you discipline and put it on the counter, they'll find a way, flipping pots and pans over, sitting on stools, standing on their brother's head just to get where they want to get off the counter. They'll find a way to get it because they're determined.
Mm-hmm.
So with myself, and if I share that out there with anybody else, is just the faith that you got to have in yourself is sure determination that you will get it. Knowing that you will. No second guessing it. No, don't worry about what people say, what their opinions of what they think you can do or you can't do. Most opinions of what people give you are basically opinions of what they think they can do.
Mm-hmm.
So basically they're basing their opinion on you. And they're saying, well, you can't do that. So with faith, just know you will. And it's time and energy and determination that will ultimately bring it through and shine, let you show that you can.
You know, it's almost like I kind of know what you're talking about, but for somebody who doesn't know per se, right? You know, where do they get that knowing from? And they you know, all these self-help things say you got to know, you got to have that.
The knowing.
The knowing of it. But for somebody that doesn't know, you know, it's almost as if that knowing is something that comes not from you. You know, somebody like through grace or whatever gives you that knowing.
That's where I step into, if you want to put a bit of a spot or a like have a spot where you point at it and say, okay, I got it from here. It's because I had so much faith in who I was and faith in the Creator that I knew that something will happen. As I said, I call it the human instruction manual, the Bible. As you give, you shall
receive.
And he goes, I created you in my
image.
And if I'm created in his image, and he's done all of this and created this entire universe and all the other things that are around there and created the most fascinating machinery on earth, the human.
Yeah.
If he did all that and I'm created in his image, and if I can only do 10% or a tenth of that, what could I do? What's possible?
Yeah.
So I just sat there in faith, okay? If you did that, and that scripture kept on rolling through my head, I created you in my image. Have faith, Daniel. So I figured, okay, if that is so, then what I'll do is I'll just begin believing so intensely and so strongly that it's going to happen, that even after all the failures of trying to make things move or trying to make things work, just knowing.
Yeah.
It's the faith is in the knowing. Just.
Yeah. So you didn't know how, but you were determined to discover what could be done with the gifts that you had. You know, all of them, including what seems to have been problems or horrific challenges.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious, you mentioned you were reborn, and I'm just wondering, was there a brain injury, or are you a different person now? I mean, in a sense, your life is different, but are you essentially a different person now than you were before the accident?
I'll say yes to both. The head injury was so massive, that's why I died additionally 3 times during surgery, because the brain just kept on quitting. There's a Glasgow coma scale they rate you on from, I think it's like the highest, I don't recall exactly what it is right now, but your lowest you can go is Glasgow coma scale of 3. After that, you're in casket. I was at a Glasgow coma scale of 3 for the first 2 weeks. I completely erased all of my memory. I had to learn how to speak again, learn how to scratch an itch, learn to go to the bathroom, everything. English language, I learned English language again. So everything from my communication to my motor skills had to all be retrained.
And did you get your memory back? Your long-term?
Not all of it, but I've been very blessed that I've got a stimulated memory where, like actually, Hilton and I were on the way over here, and I don't really recall a lot of what we spoke about or even meeting the cat. And then all of a sudden we get in the car and he says something, and that just triggers, it's like a slideshow. Brrr, all of a sudden, all these images come back. Says something again. Brrr, more images come back. So now I clearly remember sitting with him at a table talking about what we spoke about. Well, not clearly, but so that's where the stimulated memory comes in, is that when we're connected and talking about something, if you say something, or like say, I had a dog that used to run with me all over the place and was technically my best friend. But I didn't remember that dog at all until a gentleman that was living in a building that I was living in had a seeing eye dog, and it was a black lab. Dog tweaked his eyebrows, cocked his head, ears moved. More images came. It was like, I see this brown dog. I sniffed my hand, the air against my hand. More images. Interesting. Then I pet the dog because he let me pet it, so I pet the dog. And all of a sudden, more images. After that, I had to call to my friend. I said, did I have a chocolate lab? She goes, yeah, you did. And once she started telling me about things, all of a sudden, all the other images of when that dog would travel with me, when I go to bike races or I'd go camping or hiking, all of a sudden, all these images came back with this dog. So I have a clear memory, and it's like a photographic memory of that animal and all the scenarios.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So and of course your career's changed because you were doing carpentry work and stuff before. Now you're speaking, and you've got a book that you've written. Is it coming out in the new year?
The book is right now down at the editor's, and he's just editing. He's going through editing up with the manuscript and beginning the first half of the book, and that will be released in the early. I'm not exactly sure the time, but in early first half of 2000. What are we in? 2012.
Can you share the title?
Yeah.
Title are going to be called. It'll be called The Life You Choose.
And can you give us? That's an intriguing title. Can you kind of distill the essence of the book for us
The
today?
essence of it. The life you choose could potentially go into the life of your choice, but either way, it's all the sort of same thing. So it's basically, are you choosing to live your life or exist in it? Are you choosing to be a victim of a scenario or to be victorious? Are you choosing to see a missed opportunity as failure or as a possibility for something greater? So it's everything in life is a balance of how we look at it. Do we see ourselves as winning or failing because we've experienced so much trauma? So it's all a choice. And going through there, I break it down. I think I got 28 chapters in there, and I break it down. Each chapter, I give the essence of the chapter. Then I give an example of that chapter. Then I will give my personal experience. Then I give them an exercise. So it's not like you read a book and you go through and it's like, oh, that was a really good book, and you put it down and you're done. This one here, you get to implement and facilitate your life into constructing that chapter as part of a habit in your life. So it becomes more habitual instead of just something you read one day and a few things stick.
And you also are speaking to who do you normally speak to, and what do you share with people?
I speak on, a lot of it is on just human potential and possibility. And I go through medical rehabilitation facilities, through hospitals. I do some in-services where I speak with the doctor, with their staff. They have people that come in and speak to them every week, so I go in and talk about communication, how they can communicate and connect. So I'm like a facilitator between them and the thriver. And then if I go into different facilities, I'll speak with the workers and give them the power of the word. As I'm speaking with the thrivers, showing them possibility and the power of the word. So when they go in there and they go back to rehab and they connect with their caretaker, they're not sharing stuff. The caretaker goes, you've got a wild imagination, but let's just focus on this. That's fancy thinking, but what's the chance of that? So if I work with anybody, it doesn't matter what area I speak in, where I work with them and connect them with the power of the word and how powerful it is. When you state something and you put I am in front of it, it becomes you. That ultimately, like if you look at, let's just use a quick scenario right here. You got the word impossible. I'm sure we've all said it. We've also heard it many times, right? Let's take that word impossible for a moment. Now I'll get back to this, where I was talking about, otherwise I get myself lost. Take the word impossible and separate the first two letters and say those first two letters and then say the last part of the word. What do you have?
I am possible. Very nice.
Just in stating that word, it nullifies the meaning that the dictionary gives it, if you say it like that. So with the word impossible, when someone says that's impossible, all I see is I am possible. So it becomes a declaration that I'm going to overcome and become and do so much more, not to prove you wrong, just to prove to myself that I can, that I am possible.
Daniel,
Yes.
it seems to me from our conversation that it's not just mind and our brain that's doing that, at least with you, perhaps for all of us. But there's something you ended up calling me on your way down here.
Yes.
And let's just talk about that, because I was just amazed.
Yeah, that was wild. It's connecting with spirit. When it's like when I give you a scenario and I'll use it again. Like you walk by something, you see a pencil on the floor, and you go, that got to be picked up. But you don't pick it up, you walk on and say, I'll get that later. Well, it's being conscious and being alert of when spirit tells you to do something, to actually taking action on it and being proactive in your mindset. Because how many times do you hear people say, I thought of that. I knew I should have done that. Man, I just thought about that 10 minutes ago, and somebody else does it.
Yeah.
If you didn't pick that pencil up, and you were going to pick it up later, possible reason why is because you go into the next room, someone gives you a phone call, and now you need to write it down, you got no pencil. Pick it up, you would have had it in your hands.
So what happened today? You were riding the subway down. You're going to come down here on your own.
Yes.
We were going to try and find each other. What happened?
Got on the subway, and it says, give Hilton a call. Let him know you're going to be a little bit behind. It's like, I'm in the subway. I'm underground. Phone never works.
Wait, what was that? Just a message in your head?
And
Or
in my
just
head,
an
it said, you
impulse?
got to give Hilton a call. And I know that the subway surfaces at certain times.
Yeah.
It surfaces so I can make a quick call, and the call will be, say, 30, 40 seconds and back underground again. So I just said, Yeah, I'll get him at the next.
You said Spirit sort of said for you to
Yeah,
call. You were
Spirit-
wondering, going, no,
Spirit
this
said,
doesn't
"Give
make
Hilton
any
a call."
sense.
And I looked around. I stand at the back of the bus. Also at the front so I can see where we're going. And I looked around. I was like, "Nah, we're in a tunnel." Daniel, give him a call. You know what the heck? That's always worth a try. So I pull the phone out of the back pocket, look at it, no bars, nothing. It's like, this is not going to work. So I go to the message, Hilton left me a message, and I just hit the callback button. Turn my earbud on, hit the callback button. You wouldn't believe when it started ringing. It rang. I was like, Hilton, yeah, I'm going to be running a little bit behind, and I'm on my way down.
Just towards the Rosedale subway station, you said.
And I'm just coming upon the Rosedale subway station. And then Hilton says, "That's funny."
That's incredible. I'm right around the corner. I stopped in to see my wife at the nursing home, and she's gravely ill. And I was leaving, but I made an emergency stop because I just wanted to do that.
Spirit told you to.
Yeah, and I was really debilitating not doing it because the time was so tight. And I finally just said, okay, I'm just going to do it. I just feel like I have to. So I ended up being a block away from you.
Which actually goes back to the beginning in the morning.
Yes.
You wanted to go, and then what were you told to? By wife, and what were you told to from Spirit?
Yes. Yeah. Wife said, "Don't go. Just go to your interviews." And I went, okay, because that was the second communication with her. Wife said, "Don't come," and I wasn't going to go. And then I was going into the car, and last minute said, "No, I just got to go. I just feel like I'm supposed to. Like I heard that I'm supposed to go." And I attended to her, and just as I was leaving, in the car, I get the call from Daniel, and he's a block away. And had that not occurred, I would have been 20 blocks away.
Mm-hmm.
And
So
had that had not occurred, I would have
Wow.
been 20 minutes away in the other direction. And then this wouldn't have been happening.
Wow.
So we both listened. And what did you say about that? There's no coincidence.
It coincides. Coincidence is something that coincides with the thoughts, with Spirit. It's meant to be. It's meant to happen. We're supposed to be here.
Yeah.
I'm
So
supposed
Daniel-
to be here with you
yeah.
guys, and I'm supposed to connect with Hilton.
Yeah. So Daniel,
sure that
I want to just thank you for being sort of a giant in spirit and listening and paying attention. You're causing me to look to do that much more so.
Thank you.
That's Jonas. That's just
It means
awesome.
a lot. Yes.
And Daniel, if people want to get in touch with you, maybe they want to buy the book when it comes out, because it does sound like essential reading for almost anybody, or get you to be a speaker at one of their events.
The best way they can connect with me is through the website, and that's Daniel, my name Daniel, DANIEL, at Daniel Back Speaks, which is my website, and my last name is BAX.ca.com. Either way, it's the same.
So DanielBacksSpeaks.com would be the website?
Yes, or
Okay.
.ca.
And again, the email, Daniel@DanielBacksSpeaks.com?
That is correct, yes.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming in
One
today.
last thing, I'm just compelled to do this and that smile of yours. Yeah. When I went to pick you up at the subway station, not having seen you for half a year, I said just look for the silver car. I saw this man come out of the subway station in the shorts and short sleeves, and I thought, no, that can't be him. And I was looking, and I wasn't even going to approach you. I backed the car up, and then I saw this smile. I guess you saw me, and I saw this smile, and it just changed. And I want to just acknowledge you for that, because when you smile, you just light up like life is what a great discovery.
Thank you.
And really for all of us, I think that all of us have a smile that's just one that's glowing from the inside.
We do. We're all filled full of love, energy, and just a vibrant source of peace. That if we tap into ourselves and what we're really here for, we're really here to give and to be in love and be loved and just to connect. When we know that, we're doing that, and we're connecting with people, whether it be our kids, our lovers, our family, friends, whatever it is, we illuminate. So just picture your life and see every day that you're going to connect, even if it's not in the schedule to do that you will. And you'll begin to resonate an energy, a glow about you that will draw people, places, events, and opportunities into your life that will make things happen.
I'm so excited for your journey. Thank you for connecting.
Thank you for allowing me to connect.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So let's take a little break, Hilton, and we're going to come back with Hamish Brooks as the lunch continues on a Tuesday. We'll be right back.